This is Witch-based news for Friday the 17th of October 2025. I'm Commander Burr. In Elite Dangerous news this week, the mining yield perk for Squadrons is permanently increased. A solution to address the problem of system colonisation sniping is implemented, and the Galaxy's powers initiate a bold land grab around the mystery permit locked system. If you enjoy our videos, consider subscribing to the channel and remember to ping the little bell to make sure you see all our content and community posts. And if you'd like to help support our channel, links to our Patreon and everything else are in the description below. The community goal that followed the launch of the Lakon Type 11 Prospector into ARX fueled early access late last month concluded this week. As well as an inflated price for the mined ore that was delivered, the goal was also delivering the usual graded tiers of credit rewards dependent on an individual's overall participation in the goal. On top of that, however, the goal also dished out a Lakon Spaceways decal for every participant. The ultimate value for the CG, however, was perhaps in the change that its end would make to the Squadron perk of mining yield. Up until the CG, the already useful mining yield Squadron perk would grant an extra 12% extra yield from mining whenever it was activated. However, the success of the CG was tied into that mining yield perk, and the more successful the mining CG ended up being, the greater the mining yield perk would be at the end of it. As a result, following the community goal conclusion at tier 8 of 9, the Squadron mining yield perk is now a corking 20% extra, and that's permanent, not too shabby at all. The Type 11 Prospector update got its second post-release patch this week. The patch arrived following an extended downtime on Thursday morning UK time, FDev having given a heads up to expect the extended server sweep up the night before. Amongst the items listed in the patch notes, which you'll find linked in the description below, is an affirmation regarding the BGS state fix that we mentioned last week that caused a sudden spontaneity of wars and other conflicts across the galaxy. Some BGS system states had initially become frozen like a rabbit in headlights following the deployment of Trailblazers and the subsequent explosion of colonised systems that had to be accounted for in the various daily and weekly ticks that the galaxy manages. You'll find our news report on that outbreak linked on screen now, but in essence FDev had stated that they were keen to see that the changes they had made to unfreeze the BGS had bedded in properly before calling definite victory on the bug. The devs clearly having a degree more confidence in the changes they've implemented 1 week on. Elsewhere in the patch there is calls for the haulers and colonisers of the galaxy, utilising the copious carrying capacity of the personal fleet carrier, to unite in celebration, as a number of bugs that have been plaguing the transfer of cargo between carrier and ship that were introduced in the Type 11 update have now been vanquished. And the patch notes also state that a physics issue that was apparently causing some ships to spontaneously explode has been wiped away. I've had plenty of ships explode while under my control, but spontaneous unscheduled disassembly is not something that has plagued me personally. Nevertheless, good news if it's happened to you, and at least our elevators have never tried to kill us. So take some small comfort in that. The patch did introduce a problem of its own, which is, putting it mildly, everyone's Powerplay progress completely disappeared, and we were all set back to zero with no access to purchase any unlocked Powerplay modules. Fortunately, when the problem was recognised, FDev announced they were aware and investigating, and the issue was quickly resolved thereafter, with all previous Powerplay progress now restored. The biggest headline of the patch notes is, however, a new feature that has been introduced to Colonization as a result of, often somewhat vociferous, feedback around expansion from a colonised system, and in particular the phenomena of system sniping, where a player or player group has daisy-chained multiple colonisation builds out to a specific target, only to have ownership of that target snatched away at the final hurdle by someone claiming the target system off the back of everyone else's daisy chaining efforts. Following the patch this week, a system architect alone now has exclusive rights to expand out from a system they have built in for the first 30 minutes following completion of the initial starport. Thereafter follows a 23.5 hour period where only someone in the same squadron as the architect may expand from that system. After the 23.5 hour period expires, the system can then be expanded from by anyone. The new feature does not care how big your squadron is either, meaning if you're in a squadron of 1, then you'll have exclusive rights to expand from a recently colonised system for a full 24 hours following completion of your initial starport. Whilst the solution might not be to everyone's tastes, FDev have seen some important feedback about a system in the game, and a solution that attempts to address that feedback has been worked on and then implemented. This is something that we're seeing over and over again from FDev these days, and regardless of how you might feel about the individual solutions, that culture within the company is encouraging to see. The current ongoing mystery of the missing scientist Terri Torra and the October Consortium's permit locking of the system HIP 87621 took an unexpected and likely extremely significant turn this week. In case you haven't been keeping up, I've linked to the excellent Canon Interstellar article about the mystery and the trail that can be followed in game, but the very potted version is that the aforementioned scientist went missing near the permit locked system of HIP 87621, but not before declaring that she'd stumbled onto something that will, quote, blow your mind, unquote, inside the permit locked system. The October Consortium has had dabblings in the realm of exobiology in the past, leading many to speculate that some form of new life may have been discovered in the system. When the news of all this broke, it was simultaneously discovered that the star systems surrounding HIP 87621 couldn't be colonised, to the tune of a 37 light year bubble in fact. Not only did FDev not want us going in HIP, but they didn't want us claiming systems near HIP either. Curiouser and curiouser. This week then arrives a further twist in the tale. A new community goal has sprung up based from the deck of a Trailblazer megaship parked in HIP 90578, just 241 light years from the permit locked 87621. The community goal is being sponsored by the Brewer Corporation, the suppliers of all things starport, asking for deliveries of cobalt and bromellite. Cobalt is easily hauled from neighbouring starports, and bromellite can be just as easily mined in the icy rings of nearby systems. As well as a metallic purple Brewer Corp decal, the CG is also affording another opportunity to gain a Class 5 pre-engineered cargo rack with increased capacity for the top 75% of contributors. The help Brewer is asking for is in support of sudden claims coming from the representatives of the galaxy's superpowers who are looking to secure interests around HIP 87621. So whilst we can't colonise that 37 light year bubble around the target systems, it seems the reason is that the powers themselves want to stake a claim. So the bigger question now then is, why are the superpowers so keen to establish a foothold in that area? Historically, world governments don't tend to secure territorial land grabs like this unless it's to secure things like access to rights to energy reserves, or preserve access to existing economic markets, or as a base from which to project power, usually for one of the two previous motivators. It seems unlikely that any of the galaxy's great powers would be struggling to secure energy reserves, if for no other reason that they've had to bend the fabric of space-time to even reach this system in the first place. The energy requirements for that act alone are almost beyond imagining. All the galaxy's existing economic markets are currently accessible via everywhere else except HIP 87621, so again, that seems an unlikely reason, and it also strikes me as unlikely that there could be anything of significant enough economic value to a galaxy spanning governmental body. I am speaking about something they could sell specifically. Again, everything else is already everywhere else. So, is this latest move about power projection to gain exclusive access to or control access to HIP 87621, which still leaves us with what is in HIP 87621 that is so unique and so valuable that all the galaxy's powers want to control access to it. It's hard to imagine what alien life could be secured in one system in the galaxy so close to Sol that is A. undetectable by a spacefaring neighbour, so not technologically advanced, or B. of some other use or value beyond the rest of the exobio in the galaxy that we already know of, which it seems is largely not useful at all. We certainly don't farm or mine it anyway, not currently at least. Has October then discovered a new animal whose ultimate downfall is going to be that they're so delicious they're eventually wiped out because we can't stop eating them? It wouldn't be the first time that had happened in human history. Can we expect a Hip Donald's opening in a system near you soon? The other thing to consider is that there could be a sign of life in the system, but that life has already long since departed, and it's their technology that we're all desperate to gain access to. That is something I can see having value to a superpower. Elite has previous form in this direction already. In fact, we've had whole updates to the game dedicated to the shameless pillaging of alien archaeological finds. That's why we now have frameshift drive boosters and enhanced anti-Thargoid weaponry and defences. Thank you very much, Uncle Guardian. Whatever the reason, it seems we might not now have long to wait. The community goal land grab initiative is destined to finish in just 2 weeks, which puts it finishing right before Halloween hits. If it is indeed some sort of big event that is about to drop, then Elite Dangerous has form in that direction too. The Adamastor megaship that ultimately kicked off the Salvation storyline and the Thargoid invasion arrived in the bubble on October the 29th, 3306, almost 5 years ago to the day. What do you think of FDev's solution to the system sniping issue? Why do you think the powers are so keen to control HIP 87621? And what do you think is waiting in the system for us? Let us know in the comments below. That's it for now. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back later this week with more videos. Until then, 07 Commanders, follow the greens on the way out and do keep clear of the toast rack. We very much look forward to seeing you next time.